All right, I think I got it rolling. I think I got it rolling. I think we just had to fix one thing, and then it got fixed, and everything's fixed, and here we are. Hi, good morning. By the way, I'm wearing my Nuck and Futz shirt from a restaurant not far from my dad's, and I drove by it for years, quite frankly, and I was like, I kind of need to go in that place and see if they have T-shirts. And wah fucking la. So I got one. And it's a good work in the garage shirt. So after I finish up this morning, back out to the garage. Eventually I will show progress, but it's in that kind of like horrifyingly, like, you ever, like when you're spring cleaning or you're going through a process of like organizing where it just looks the worst it could possibly work before it starts to arc into better. Where you have to kind of go, all right, I have to undo the system that I had or lack thereof, go back to absolute zero. And then, and while that's happening, there's a giant pile of shit in the floor. And you're like, all right, I'm looking at all my like tools and project stuff in the floor like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. Like, that is one big pile of shit. I'm at that phase. Yes, everything looks like a tornado hit it. That's exactly right, Water Goddess. That is so true. So, is anything happening in the world of like politics and hip hop? I haven't really been paying attention lately. Holy hell. So, let's just jump in, shall we? Now, I thought after we did yesterday on the live stream, and I don't even know how we cut down pieces of that for people to view. Jesus, the Alex Jones, just that was 1 hour of him on the show, and I'm not going to go pay for the rest of it to see more of that fucking blather. So you'll have to seek it out yourself if you want to. Somebody else who wants to, throw good money after bad can sign up for Alex Jones's InfoWars, members only TYT system so that they could watch the next 2 hours of him holding up a net and a bottle of Yoo-Hoo and going, I'm Jew, gonna kill you, Jew. Like, ugh. Anyways, just when you thought that was the most embarrassing piece of video you could possibly see, along comes oops, oh crap. I was so excited. Hold on. I've got to, now, sometimes when I restart my computer, which I had to do because of audio issues, let's see, that's it, the wrong page. There we go. So let's see, there we go. Open that up, and then it goes to which one? This guy. Nope, it goes to this guy. Yeah, there we go. Done. All right, now it'll work. Sorry. Beep. Here we go. Boink. There we go. I have to go back to my original setting. So Trump, I don't know. Maybe did Andrew Giuliani shoot this one? Because there's a lot of fucking headroom. I guess it's really important that the QAnon people focus on his handshake with Kim Jong-un across the 39th parallel, where apparently Trump went and saw Kim Jong-un in his own sandbox. But check this out. This is good stuff. This is him. Apparently, like he's running out of supporters so badly that he's got to make promises. He has to make promises to the Jan Sixers at this point.
Have been treated unconstitutionally, in my opinion, and very, very.
Also, no, they fucking haven't. Yeah, and by the way, unconstitutionally, in his opinion, is fucking meaningless. The dude made off with classified documents. You're not president anymore, stupid. That's executive. I use executive privilege. Before I used NDAs, then I became president. Now, from president forever, I get to use executive privilege because I am an executive, in theory.
Unfairly, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And you know what I've said. I take it very seriously. I have never seen anything like it at all levels.
I've never seen anything like it at all levels. By the way, this is him, by the way, using the January 6th people to say, I'm persecuted just like you are. They're coming after me too.
Of the Department of Justice.
Right.
And we can't let this happen in our country because our country is going not socialist. They've skipped over that.
Wait, we skipped over socialist? I just bought the T-shirt. Now I gotta change the big S on my shirt to a big C? Son of a bitch.
Over socialism. Our country is going communist. This is what happens.
Yes, we're going communist. As you can see from the jobs report.
And we can't let it happen. We have to stop it. So I want to thank everybody for working so hard. I know how hard you're
He's not going to, but he wants to.
Working to get justice for people that are imprisoned right now and people that are being tormented.
Tormented? Tormented. Oh, I see. Wait a second. He means him.
Can't let it happen. We're going to stop it. We're going to win. Thank you all very much.
We're going to stop it and we're going to win. How, dumb fuck? Honest to God, I don't know how, we're going to fix it and we're going to fix it very fast and fast. And we're going to so quickly and all we have to do, and it's so simple, but we got to do it and we can't not do it. We must do it and we're going to do it so fast. And I don't want you to worry, but our country is turning into a bloody hellscape of murder and death and drugs and brown people. But don't worry, I'm here. You can come by Mar-a-Lago anytime you want. Bring any white supremacists. The lunchroom is always open. Don't worry about it, but we have to stop it because the country is on fire currently. Everyone is dying. You can't even go outside without being hit with a baseball bat and shot. I saw a man being shot with a baseball bat gun the other day. He was tying his shoe. You don't even want to look at it. My Pornhub search results were affected. Instagram is listening because you would not believe the Kanye pictures I saw after I saw that. So the country is falling apart. But we've got to fix it, and we're going to fix it so quickly that you can barely understand. Jesus Christ. That's, I would also like to say, just like, it's like they're moving away from him. It's like they're like, okay, I'm still filming. Just keep, I'm gonna, maybe if we keep just sneaking backwards, he won't notice that we're leaving. What can I also, may I, point of order, Mr. Chairman, if I may, hold on, let me switch over to this. Meanwhile, that's Trump. Let me show you, this is Obama, speaking on behalf of Raphael Warnock, in Georgia on the campaign trail. Okay, just to compare and contrast. So go back to the picture we have of Donald Trump in his office, just like this shot. So bad, we've got to stop it. It's communism, so bad, but it's never been like this before. Okay, let's go from that to this.
Now, if you had forgotten what I said the last time, it's okay because you just have to wait a minute. He reminds you every time he opens his mouth.
He's talking about Walker.
I mean, every day. Every day he comes up with something. Every day.
Every
Since
day.
the last time I was here, Mr. Walker has been talking about issues that are of great importance to the people of Georgia. Like whether it's better to be a vampire or a werewolf. This is a debate that I must confess I once had myself. When I was 7. Then I grew up. In case you're wondering, by the way, Mr. Walker decided he wanted to be a werewolf. Which is great. As far as I'm concerned, he can be anything he wants to be. Except for a United States Senator.
Just so good. Meanwhile, can we go back, like, shit. Where's this? Hold on.
In my opinion, and very, very unfairly, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And you know what I've said. I take it very seriously. I have never seen anything like it at all.
Like, the comparison is just so brutal. It just looks like it's like even worse. Like, it's so fucking bad when you just watch it. Then when you compare it with like anybody else. He's just such an asshole. Oh my God. Oh God. The funny thing is, no doubt, if you showed that clip of Obama to Trump wouldn't go off on that's unfair, it's an attack on it, he doesn't want to talk about he wouldn't go into politispeak and deal with it like any normal human being would. He would go, werewolves, very powerful, also vampires. I mean, we don't have to. This is Obama being the divider in chief. I'm a uniter. I would bring the werewolves and the vampires together. We need to be friends with the vampires and the werewolves. I think that's a good thing.
Levels. It's the weaponization of the Department of Justice, and we can't let the
By the way, a lot of people make fun of his accordion hands. I'd like to say that this is just a psychological reflex inside this dipshit's head where he's just basically telling himself, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together, keep it. That's what that hand gesture is. Keep it together. Don't snap. Don't lose it. Yeah, they're so good. There are good monsters on both sides. On both sides. And I unequivocally condemn vampirism and werewolfism, werewolfization of the United States. And yet, you have to be able to talk to all sides. It's good. We should have a relationship with the vampires. You know, that's a good thing. So, sorry. I didn't expect that to crack me up as much as it did. Eileen Cannon got her ass handed to her today. Let's just jump straight in. Glenn, good stuff. I should have Glenn on the morning show. I'll eventually do that. Let's see. Single worst day of her legal career. Right. So, all it was a stalling tactic. Can I just say, may I, point of order, Mr. Chairman, if I may, overruled, I'm sustaining myself. Didn't I say this about the fucking special master stuff? Didn't I say this about this Judge Cannon horseshit? Think back. Remember when all this shit happened? And they're like, oh my God, he took one of his own judges. He'll never face justice. You know, like I'm like, it's a delay tactic. All it's ever gonna do is slow some shit down. It's not gonna stop a fucking thing. It's exactly what I said. 11th Circuit admonishments of her include abused her discretion, radical reordering of our case law, unsupported conclusions, stepped in with her own reasoning. The 11th Circuit admonishments and twice rejecting Judge Eileen Cannon's tortured acceptance of Trump's sideshow arguments. What'd I say? What'd I say? Right again. I'm just saying. 11th Circuit rules Judge Cannon was incorrect, eliminates a ruling, orders case to be dismissed. Special master gone. All restrictions on the DOJ use of recovered Mar-a-Lago documents gone. Look at this. Everybody's like, this is huge. I'm like, yes. That's what was always going to happen. Even with Trump judges on the 11th Circuit, they're like, we're not letting this motherfucker take back power from us. You nuts? Because if she does this, then anybody can do this. And we can't have that because we want the power. So even Trump's worst appointees wouldn't give that over to her. Oh, fuck me. What'd I say? Right again. Okay, so I'm sorry. It's just I'm stacking wins these days, and it's nice. Oh God, I don't want the picture to show up, but the swastika is trending. Hi, Steve Hofstadter, ladies and gentlemen. Good follow. Simon Rosenberg, also a good follow. Lindy Lee, also a good follow. Lincoln Project, probably already doing that. Rona McDaniel, not so much. Kanye's remarks are abhorrent. I completely condemn them and anti-Semitism in all its forms. There is no place for Kanye, Fuentes, or their views inside the Republican Party. And now you know why Trump doesn't like her. Oh, and let me see if I can. Yeah, here you go. So the story that the AP wrote about the fact that security at Mar-a-Lago must be straight up ass because Kanye West was able to bring Nick Fuentes in, and nobody was like, maybe, excuse me, because you're famous or because Trump says so, you can just walk the fuck in with Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes in tow. The story in AP, written by the untalented and very unreliable Jill Colvin, who I unfortunately got to know at the White House, is fake news. We have very strong security, especially with the extremely talented Secret Service agents who can sing like fucking birds as long as they don't do it to the January 6th committee on premises. But when I know someone, as I did with Yee, yay, we're not going to have my guests strip searched, thrown against the walls, and otherwise physically beaten. The anonymous sources don't exist. Stories to the contrary are fake news. Oh, fake news. So, lot to break down in that one. He's the idea that, by the way, that the guests are. Kanye West wasn't hiding Nick Fuentes in his fucking hoodie. He wasn't carrying Milo Yiannopoulos in his fucking neck bag or hiding in one of his goddamn galoshes, which he wears instead of shoes. Shit. Strip search, thrown against walls, and otherwise physically beaten. Yeah, that wasn't, I mean, maybe he's been taking reading comprehension lessons from Dan Bongholio, but people were just, I think all they were asking for was excuse me, sir, what was your name again? Mr. Former asshole president, Mr. Former microblogger. Your dinner guest is here, but he's brought a white supremacist and a dude who was canceled for saying that young gay men underage need an older gay man to guide them into their sexuality when they're younger than teens. More ketchup? Okay, you got it. He's good. Holy shit. So, and then this is him just bitching about he doesn't get justice and blah, blah, blah. And the DA, the Manhattan DA's office has not tried a murder case since 2015, despite the fact that violent crime is at an all. It's 6 years ago yet. Yeah, that's just, first of all, okay, that's fucking lunacy. See, years of his human jobs spent costly. They're like, I don't even know where he fucking gets that. Of course, people have been tried for murder in New York in the last 7 years. Also, the majority of that time was when you were president. Oy. Also, 12-0 in Senate endorsements against broken Oak Grove, Mitch McConnell. Oh, God. Well, no, not 12-0, because, I mean, he didn't endorse anybody. He just gave them money. Yep, Rhino Karl Rove. They're just attacking people. Strong endorses Trump for 2024. Great. Tommy Tuberville. Just jumping right in. What a shock. CNN following announced hundreds of Christmas season layoffs. Yeah, after they took a sharp right turn. Shocking. Yeah, and then it's Rep MTG shit, and then it's a lot of Jack Smith attacking, yada, yada. Anyways, so not a surprise that Trump is flipping out about that. That's lovely. Pocahontas is going to be coming up simply because of Elizabeth Warren, I guess. Should be bound by a basic code of ethics. We need to reform our judicial ethics system, and I've got a bill for that. And then yeah, this kind of stuff. Okay, and that's how they're attacking her. Hate speeches rise. That's not good when that is trending as a full fucking phrase. Hate speeches rise on Twitter is unprecedented. Researchers find. You think? You know, there aren't other websites that have been around for more than a day where they saw a 500%, it's bigger than that now, it's like 720% rise in the use of the N-word. But by the way, by non-black people. Let's be abundantly clear. There seems to be a regular pass, and that's not my business. But Black Twitter apparently can throw that word around like crazy. And good on you. Knock yourself out. The rise has not been in that crowd. They didn't decide, oh, thank God, we can really let our, freak flag fly in this one. Now, hate speech on Twitter has jumped since Elon Musk took over, researchers found. Well, no kidding, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. The Elon effect, that'll work. The View. Everyone take a little time to enjoy The View. To the monarchy. In his latest speech, I talked about the atrocities committed by the monarchy during the British colonial rule in Kenya. Yeah, I don't care. I'm American. A lone soldier admires the view on the Italian front of World War I. Wow, that was a lot of explosions. By the way, Macron while they had a nice jovial meal, Macron is very upset because Biden is stealing EV contracts from Germany and France. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys didn't see that one? Hold on one second. If I may, U.S. allies, U.S. EV market, Germany, something like that. It'll be in the news. News, here we go. It's this whole made in America thing that Biden's going for. Building a lithium-ion battery, in fact, Germany top car producer had seemed like a no-brainer for Northvolt, but a new U.S. law offering hefty subsidies to local manufacturers of green technology has given the company pause for thought. The Inflation Reduction Act Swedish-based Northvolt could get an 800 million euros in U.S. state aid to build a factory making the batteries used in electric vehicles. That's roughly 4 times what the German government is offering. I mean, we're 6 times bigger than they are as a country, so of course, but whatever. With cheaper energy prices in the United States on top, as a result, the company is considering delaying its plans to build a factory in Heide, North Germany. We are now at a point where we prioritize expansion in the U.S. over Europe first. Now, again, that's something that could have been done, could have happened during the Trump administration. Nothing materially has changed. There was not a giant, oh my God, we discovered that the sweet lithium comes from the United States. We do have a good source, the Salton Sea, apparently. It's not that. It wasn't like somebody invented a new kind that it's better if somebody has a southern accent when they're working on it. These EV batteries work better when you have a drawl. Nope. All the same. Nothing fucking changed. The only difference was who was in charge and what they prioritized. Just saying. So there's that Macron and Olaf, or what's it? Yeah, the German chancellor are both. It's sort of aggravated at Biden right now. They're not flat out mad, but we're taking a few multi-billion-dollar projects from them by giving them, millions in subsidies to start up, but the payoff will be 6 times what our investment was. Even if 4 out of 5, literally the way it's laid out, 4 out of 5 of them could fail, and we'd still make money on the deal. Not to mention jobs and all that other shit. That's the part that's aggravating everyone. Amy Coney Barrett is not a member of any hate group, and the disgraceful Joy Behar knows her apology falls short. Oh, I see. She, Claire, I said something yesterday I want to correct.
It's got them mixed up with another group. It was inaccurate. Okay. So I don't think that's right that I have to say, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I conflated them.
Okay. Yeah. That happens, it's easy to do.
It's a live show.
And you're thinking, and sometimes I call Joy, Sarah.
Yeah. Because we look so much alike.
Because you look identical to each other. Before we...
That, by the way, I think the most shocking part of that is not the fact that Joy Behar had to issue a correction, but that clearly there is anti-white racism going on there because Whoopi Goldberg says we all look alike. And I, for one, hope that Kanye stands up and, all right, just fucking around. Just stupid. No one cares. She doesn't belong to the hate group. She only spoke to them. Yawn. Okay. Ukraine-Russia war. There's a lot, yeah. Coming back from battle, smoking. Well, look at that tire. Jesus. Oh, they're towing that one? Is that one of the Z vehicles? So there's a bunch of stuff. The B-21 was announced. The B-21 Raider, that's the U.S. Air Force's new stealth bomber. And that is a Ukrainian soldier firing a missile at a helicopter. It's okay. I can't. You got to be careful when I'm scrolling through these because Ukraine war. There you go. That's walking up to a newly freed people. Is that her? We can't read it, so he's just giving snacks and stuff. He made a wood carving of a cross for them. That's sweet. 50-year-old draws children's books. An author who volunteered to defend Ukraine keeps it documented, so they're drawing behind the lines. There's a march in support in Bologna. And yeah, so let's look at the latest stuff that they have in here. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on. The Europeans are, was it Ukrainian? Yeah, okay. A lot of the bots jump in the beginning. It's interesting because let me see if I can do this. I can, that's the Russians using phosphorus white phosphorus on people. And then sometimes their own shit blows up. They've hit Belgorod with their own phosphorus munitions a couple of times. Belgorod is in Russia. I posted the story earlier. I'll see if it shows up on there. There's a bunch. Yeah. So this just, I mean, it's ongoing. These are the Ukrainian dead. I showed you this before when we were talking to Philip. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's ongoing. It is HIMARS time in occupied Shakhtarsky, Donetsk region, eastern Ukraine. The oil depot of the Russian army is on fire. That's 28 minutes ago. By the way, hi, chat room. Hi, welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I just jumped right into the show, and I always forget to tell people. So give a thumbs up, and that helps boost us in the algorithm while you're watching, so other people can join in, and then we have a show, and then I can keep doing this. All right. Now, morning show's way more laid back than the afternoon show. We just see where it takes us. But let me see if I can. I'm going to open up my Telegram channel, but I got to be careful when I open that on what I actually show, because some of it is just, quite frankly, god awful. Now we got. Why is it? Yeah. I have to. Oh, okay. So this is super random. Really oddly disturbing. So let me see if I can open this up and pause like this, and then I've got to scroll it back to the beginning. Yeah. So I'm going to show you. This is a video from China. It might be a little disturbing. Just to understand, the person being attacked lives. This might get me shut down, but I'll see, or whatever. They're working in a plant. They have to wear these hazmat-y kind of suits to work all the time. It's the weirdest fucking thing. Watch how long it takes people to react. This person just goes up and starts choking this person, and everybody's just standing there. I mean, the guy with his back to him over here doesn't know what the shit is going on, but these people are just staring right the fuck. Hey, do something. And then, like, the person in pink comes over and goes, you're not on break. Fix that. And then they all go around, and I'll just skip to the end because they basically, like, separate the person, and then the person falls on the ground, and then they grab the other dude, and then that's that. Weirdest fucking thing. You see a lot of strange stuff in kind of frozen behavior, in Chinese and Korean work conditions. But that, I have to say, that was one of the ones that like shocked me the most. And the weird thing is that one of the reasons why everybody paused was because they didn't know it wasn't an officially sanctioned strangulation in that moment. They just figured, oh, okay, that's what we're doing now. That guy's probably a cop or something. He just goes in and strangles people. Okay. So we just stand here while the strangling happens? Did he yell or was he afraid to? He couldn't make a noise. He couldn't yell. It's no air. No air will come out of your neck while you are being garroted. Just fucking crazy. Yeah, so let's see. I had another channel that I put in on one of the, and it did not update or something. So like in the desktop version, or I'd show it to you. But there's this one channel I follow. There's a couple of weird ones. And I posted it on Twitter. Let me see if I can just bring it up there. But it was like so kind of random. The story is, as we follow it, that let's see. Okay, here it is. Yeah, found it. All right. So this is from a Telegram channel from allegedly, and that's so you always have to take this with a grain of salt. But it's making the rounds fair. I mean, it'll be on WeOn or any of these other channels by the evening. Truly dramatic events for Putin took place in the evening at his residence. Going down the stairs, Putin stumbled and fell to the 5th point, after which he fell on his side. This is a translation I did off of using the translator, so off of Telegram, so it's a little wonky. After which he fell on his side and slid down a couple of steps. The incident took place in front of the president's personal guards, who quickly reacted and rushed to Putin's aid. 3 security officers helped the president to get to the nearest sofa, called the doctors who were on duty at the residence. No pun intended. Medics arrived within a few minutes, but could not immediately examine the president. Putin suffers from oncology of the gastrointestinal tract, as a result of which he experienced serious problems with digestion, and as a result of the fall, as it turned out, the main blow fell on the coccyx, which probably caused sharp pain, provoking involuntary defecation. If Putin used to wear special waterproof underwear with an absorbent effect, adult diapers, then recently he neglects those precautions, as it turned out, in vain. Meaning, he shit himself and they could tell. Like, he clearly wasn't wearing... oh, the major's waiting. What? The major's wants to join me this morning? That's fantastic. I didn't realize he was actually available this morning. Hold on. Major, I'm going to send you the connection key then. 1 second. Usually we do it second hour, so let's see. First thing I need to do is, open up this. I got to send him a couple of links. Work with me on this thing. Drag this over here. Excellent. Cool. Whoops. And I'm gonna let him know. I'm going to DM him the input information. So copy, and there we go. And fantastic. There we go. Okay. And yeah, okay, here you go. So I'm sending him a link right now. Oops. There we go. And let's see. There we go. And hopefully we should be all good. He's got everything he would need to pop in there. And then I will make a screen for him to join us. That's awesome. So yeah, Major, hop on in there if you want. I'm going to enable my stuff. Let me see this. Do a little bit of housekeeping. Good morning, everybody. Hi, chat room. You guys are wonderful. Give me a second. Turn on my virtual cam so he can see what's going on. There we go. And we're done. And then we go to here. Excellent. And then we take on this thing. And yeah, he should be all good. All right. Okay. I got to change my audio stuff on here so that it doesn't mess with the volume, which it always does. There we go. Close that. Excellent. So far, so good. Okay. I mean, turn my mic down. Nope, we're okay. All right. So, yeah, we should be able to get in there fairly well. Let me go back to the comms. Here we go. And when he comes in, I will make that happen. But let's see. We'll go back to normal Twitter real quick. And by the way, the reason hashtag Kanye West is trending is because he got bounced. Although I want to say he got some sort of like, trusted. Yeah, he got kicked off, but then he's got another account that's verified that he was using yesterday. He's using his business one. That's been around, and then he just threw his name up on it. So he was using it yesterday. dude's just an asshole. And Alex Jones, because of that, Sandy Hook is trending. Oh, wait, we might have him. Excellent. Hold on one second. Let me bring him in, and I will got that on here. Give me a second. I'm going to bring in our dear friend, the Major, who will be, let's see if I can get him on here. Guest one. There you go. Block that. Give me just a second, Major, and I will have you in here with us all to talk about, the silliest week that we've had so far. Hold on. There we go. And let me turn that off, and then turn one more thing off, and then we're good. Cool. And 3, 2, 1, and let's see, transition you there. It'll take him a second to pop up. The 3, 2, 1, pop. There we go. And then I think everybody can hear you. I'm pretty sure. Let's make sure.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, they can. There you go. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. I
hopped on last night and I saw you. And I was like, I gotta see what Hal's talking about. And dude, man, I mean, as always, I've missed the hell out of you, man, because
you too.
I've just been doing all kinds of other crazy stuff. I'm almost done with my house, but as always, you're spot on, man. Everything you say is spot on, and this has been absolutely a crazy week, man.
Yeah. I have to say, like, one of the things that keeps me as optimistic as I am is because I can see these failures coming. As much as, there are institutional structures and there's, the ability for Trump to put judges in places and all that kind of stuff that put a little bit of a hitch in the get along of normal life, there's just no way this dude doesn't fuck up. Like, he can... Within 2 weeks of announcing he's going to run for president again, he's having dinner with Kanye, Nick Fuentes, and Milo Yiannopoulos. And then he distances himself by going, look, Kanye needs help, and I was trying to help him out like he's some sort of like adopted black son. Like, look how good I am. I'm helping the dumber people. Yeah. And doesn't even distance himself from what Nick Fuentes says, just says, I don't know the dude. Same thing he did with David Duke, by the way. Yep. And then everybody who was like on the fence about, coming out against Trump after his bullshit announcement, just because it was bullshit, now has a total free reign to go, oh, well, fuck that guy. It's amazing.
And you know what? You can't sit here and tell me. I mean, he really thinks that the American people are stupid. And there are a pretty significant swath of folks that are. But, I mean, everybody remembers. Yeah.
I feel seen. Okay.
Yeah, everybody remembers when Marjorie Trainwreck Green and Paul Gosar spoke at the white nationalist, meeting where Fuentes was talking about, what about Putin, and I mean, Donald Trump knows this is absolutely just him going. There is no depth in terms of low that this man will not go to. He is the lowest of the low.
That's right. And again, like, I'm sure you saw that video. I played it a little bit ago of him trying to get, basically, complaining on behalf of the Jan Sixers, but ultimately using them as a reason of saying, look, they're attacking me like they're attacking them. If you think they are wrong, if you're a QAnon nutcase like Marjorie Trader Green who wants to side with those folks, you should side with me as well because they're jailed, I'm tormented. He used those that are being jailed and tormented. When he said tormented, he meant him.
Yeah.
Just a fucking child.
It amazes me. It's like literally they're participating in psychological operations where they're trying to, find the poorly educated and fill their heads full of this garbage. And Donald Trump's, it's violent.
Yes.
It's becoming deadly. I mean, and now, with Kanye West, I hope he literally becomes penniless and nobody ever looks towards him again. For him to say that, he likes Nazis and that Adolf Hitler did some good things too.
Right.
I mean, that's it. If that right there doesn't give everybody in America the absolute easiest ability to shut the fucking door in his face,
Right.
then we got problems.
Well, that's and again, that's the issue you'll see a lot of times with these guys is that we're just waiting for the one moment when we can kick them off. Where they're gonna cross a line at some point, and then that'll be that, right? We're just and then the line happens where you're like, well, that's got to be it, and then it doesn't, and you're like, okay, how much further does this shit have to go? This kind of the blatant anti-Semitism and the sort of violent rhetoric of both Nick Fuentes and Kanye on Alex Jones' show yesterday is I would align it with a lot of the ads that people do with guns or the Will Smith slap, where they have this kind of like, well, I mean, just because he did it doesn't mean it's a call to violence. No, it's an acceptance of violence as a means of getting your emotional needs met or getting your political needs met. And that's fucked up. It's really dangerous because I don't think Kanye's going to go into a fucking store and open fire, but I do think people are going to take their cues from him occasionally. And the same thing when Trump says it's okay. That's why that's why the government is stodgy at times, because you can't talk shit like that because of people go, okay, it's on.
Yeah, he's empowering certain groups.
Right.
We know that the white supremacists in this country are their base now, and what they want to do is they want to try to scare people. Donald Trump did it with the murderers and rapists coming across the border, his banning of Muslims. I mean, what people don't understand is that when you have people that are in the spotlight that spew that type of hatred, it empowers people to run up to these people and sucker punch them right on the street,
Right.
and this stuff is actually happening all across this country. And not only does it have to stop, but these people should be held accountable for this stuff. And I know that we watched Alex Jones, and you could tell he was cringing when Kanye was spewing this garbage. But at the end of the day, do what?
He didn't pull the plug though.
No, he didn't. And that's the thing is, I was watching a video earlier today about how for the past 2 years, Alex Jones has been moving money around. And he's been saying, like, I just had to pay $29 million to this company that we owed, but it turns out that company is owned by him and his parents. So,
Right.
Here we have a guy who has literally done the worst thing that could possibly happen to people who lost their children by calling them crisis actors and say that it was a hoax. And now that he's finally being held accountable, now the bankruptcy courts are going to have to go overtime to try to find what money that he hasn't hidden and try to find it so that they can do something to give these people. This asshole is trying to make it to where the people that he literally attacked and drugged through the mud when they were at the lowest point, he's literally doing everything in his power to make sure that they get nothing.
Right.
And that's absolutely, that shows you how low.
He's gloating about it. He's gloating about it. Like, so at what point, does he get to claim some sort of moral high ground? And he tried to do it multiple times, but, during that show yesterday. I'm like, first of all, there's a lot of reasons to say that Alex Jones was the worst person on that panel yesterday. That Nick Fuentes is a, mom's basement Nazi. It isn't really turning a page. He might be he might be the bird feed for these fuckers, but he's not starting a movement. Kanye West is on a major downslide, and he might have a couple of people who, like, asshole sidearm celebrities that back him up, like Kylie or Nick Cannon with their bullshit. And, just kind of he groups them in with him or vice versa.
Yeah.
But Alex Jones, for months, continued to double down on this crisis actor shit to the point where his followers were sending him pictures bragging that they were pissing on the graves of these children, literally urinating on gravestones, and then sending the pictures to the parents, saying there's no kid in there, you're a liar, your kid never lived. Like, so, I would argue that while he's sitting there kind of go, well, I like all kinds of people. And I would be like, fuck you, dude. You literally, I would argue he's had the worst impact on people so far. Now, after yesterday, when Kanye put up that like Star of David swastika mix that's going to be his like Nike logo going forward or his presidential logo, like, there's an argument he might have picked a fight or started something that could end in some really nasty shit. But so far, the guy with the biggest body count right now is Alex Jones. So trying to backpedal is shit.
If he had any decency in him whatsoever, and we know that he doesn't, he would have shut that down immediately and said, "I'm sorry, you guys have to get up. You got to get your asses out of the studio." But he didn't. He let it continue to go on, and that's what to me. It's like the fairness doctrine. We got to bring the fairness doctrine back to hold companies like Fox, OAN, and Newsmax and InfoWars and these companies accountable for the lies that they spread. But at the end of the day, when does somebody finally say we've got to do something with this type of media, because it is absolutely killing people in this country and it's ruining us?
Well, here's the thing. There was a period to which, especially with Fox News, having kind of like a stranglehold on a certain chunk of voters, where they're sort of the elimination of the fairness doctrine and spread, did give them an outsized leverage against, CNN trying to remain moderate, even MSNBC kind of like not going as far, I would argue, left as Fox went right, you know what I mean? So not the idea that they are somehow balanced is ridiculous, because you still got Chuck Todd and Andrea Mitchell, and she's married to Alan Greenspan, for fuck's sake. Like, come on. So the idea that that's the thing. CNN's kind of in the middle and these two are in the outside. Well, that's not the case, because even on MSNBC and CNN, there are moderating voices, even when they're not earned. I would say CNN does a lot of whataboutism in what they're talking about, whereas the Fox just had a chokehold on an entire chunk of the voters. Now, it's almost like they're the dog that caught the car. There's so many outlets. There are so many, Parlor, Getter, Gab, all these fucking sites. There's, BitChute and Rumble competing to have like the craziest shit on there. And then Truth Social rolls in, and Trump's going to try and like corral or partner with parts of it. Yeah. It literally spread the peanut butter so fucking thin, you're just getting bread. And that's their problem. Because yesterday, at the same time, Kanye West was, saying he likes Hitler multiple times. Not just, everyone has worth, even Hitler. He literally said especially Hitler, which is amazingly fucked up. In that same breath, he and Nick Fuentes were castigating Trump for not going far enough. So watching that happen, I do have to say I find a little bit of joy, because he's attacking the rhinos, they're attacking him, and of course the message in the press is Democrats in disarray.
Yeah. Look, I am all about watching Republicans rip each other apart. I've even said that. I've even spoke to members of Congress about this and said, hey, look, if you have any way, let Donald Trump and let DeSantis rip each other apart. Because the truth is that, Ron DeSantis is just as bad as Donald Trump is, but he's smarter than Donald Trump. And the thing about it is that if Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump go head to head with each other and DeSantis beats Trump, that base that is Donald Trump worshipers will not vote. They won't support anybody that kills their baby Jesus.
Exactly.
That's Donald Trump.
Split it right down the fucking middle. Half of the people will go, all right, I'm going to vote for whoever the Republican is. And the other half of Trump's supporters, in that 48% that he has locked down, will go, fuck DeSantis. He stabbed my guy. I'm not voting for anybody. This is all rigged. And by the way, I would argue between those two halves, there's a big chunk that didn't vote in this last election, isn't going to vote in December 6th, and aren't going to vote next time. Like they checked out of voting. He talked them out of it.
Many people went to the polls in Georgia because they wanted to vote for Governor Kemp. And now that Governor Kemp's not on the ballot, Walker's free. I think Walker is screwed. And I'll tell you something else too. The one thing about Parlor that I absolutely love. Now, I was never on Parlor, but when the January 6th took place, immediately following the January 6th assault on our Capitol, the CIA, the FBI, everybody went straight to Parlor, and those jackaloons literally told on themselves. We were in the Capitol.
It was even better. It was even better, because this is how shit Dan Bongholio and all those assholes who run Parlor were, is that the security they used was the demo version of like a WordPress security thing for the whole fucking site. They didn't even pay the fucking $15 a month for the pro version of the fucking plugin. And so when there was the largest social media hack of materials, I think like short of the big Facebook one, which was like 1% of people on Facebook, everyone on Parlor had their data stolen. And the way they designed Parlor was like, if you go on Twitter or you go on Facebook or even YouTube, the metadata for what you upload is referenced as a copy unless you intentionally do it. So like if you put a picture on Instagram, the metadata is like, it was created this day on Instagram using Instagram on an iPhone. It doesn't put in, it was filmed on this day at this latitude and longitude, like it's in the actual photo on your phone. It's just a copy, right? Without that data. On Parlor, it's a direct upload. It's like putting it in your Dropbox. And so it has all of it. It has exactly this, literally to an inch, where the fuck you were standing. When these motherfuckers couldn't even go, that was green screen, I was pretending. Like, asshole, you were exactly here. It had their driver's license information, it had their home address, it had their credit card information. Like, it was the stupid, and these are the people who are like, we need real businessmen who can run the government. Remember, that's that crowd. Fuck me, so good. The Parlor hack was one of the most glorious things, because the CIA and the FBI didn't do it. Somebody just disgruntled went, wait a minute, the fuck is this? And they went tickety-tack, and 70 terabytes of stuff just poof on the internet. Nice. So good.
Yeah, they're just not that. I mean, they're just not that smart. They're not. If it was intelligence, they'd be freaking rocket scientists.
Right, and that's why we have to be grateful that these are the people pulling this off, not somebody else. And it's also why give them enough rope to say what they're going to say, because part of it is, I think, the ability to measure what you're saying and dial it back, because you know people are watching and you know you're not allowed to say anything, has allowed these folks to actually advance way farther in society than they would if they said what they really feel. Dog whistling does have the effect of playing on the civility of other human beings, going, well, I don't think they really mean that. And then, but when they get a chance to fucking say it, they fucking say it. And so there's a value to that. So I want everybody to, I'm going to put your Twitter handle up on there in a second, because we've been chit chatting, and I want to throw that in there. But tell me about your house build, because how far along are you?
Well, we're building 2 houses. We bought 20 acres of land. We got a 3-acre pond on it. We're very fortunate to be able to find this great opportunity. But the smaller house, which is my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, that's going to be probably they're going to move into that within the next 2 weeks. But my house is going to probably take until mid-January, beginning of February, and I was on Restream, and I kept freezing up and things like that, and we found out it's Restream. So we're waiting for me to get my house done, and then we're going to set things up, and then I'm going to start doing my shows again from there. I still go live Friday, Saturday, Sunday on Facebook alone. But once we get into the new house, I'm going to set things up, and we're going to go through StreamYard, and we're going to do things that way, and then get things going.
Okay, because I use Restream, and it works fine for me. So sometimes it can be the site you do it through, depending on which software you're using to get there. Just saying. So if you ever need a tech walkthrough or something to help you, I'm there. Just day or night, give me a call, and I will walk you through like video settings, audio settings, because you guys know I'm always pushing it, so I always have to. I'm trying everything all the time. So I've been there, whatever the problem is, I've experienced it live. So for the record, I'm just, anytime you need it, just saying.
Well, brother, I appreciate that. I mean, I tell people all the time, if they're not following House Sparks, then you're missing out, man. I mean, dude, you are not only are you hilarious, But dude, you're sharp. You do your research, man. I mean, you really do. You put the time in to do these shows like this, man. It's awesome, and I'm hoping, I want to get to the point where I pull up videos as well and do that also, because like I said, you were talking about the Ukraine piece and Putin.
Yeah.
I mean, this is stuff that I follow every day as a retired military officer.
Right.
I mean, I keep my eyes on that stuff right there nonstop. And I'm telling you, I literally believe that it amazes me that we saw Vladimir Putin drugged through the streets in Moscow, because it's going to take at least 3 decades for the Russian economy to ever recover.
Right.
After
if they started today and did a full mea culpa. If they flat out just went today and just went, our bad, fuck this, here's all of Ukraine back, all of Georgia back, sorry about Chechnya, we're not doing that shit, we're not doing that shit anymore. We're oil and gas, and we're going to start working in space and trying to develop our space program, go back to a tech economy, and we shot Putin and we're done. Like, if they did that tomorrow at an attempt to try and normalize with the rest of the world, it still would, nobody believe them, for fucking one. Why would you? Jesus Christ, like the number of civil gullibility is one of the biggest problems that I think Americans have, because of who we've been dealing with, and because we've been fed a steady diet of America sucks for 40 decades. I was pointing out the other day, you've almost never seen a movie with a good CIA agent or a good FBI agent. FBI is on TV, so you never see them in movies anyways. But if they're FBI agents in a movie, they're assholes, they're corrupt, they're violent, and they stop real cops from doing their job. And if you see a CIA person, it's because they used to be CIA and now it's blowback and our own guys turning on. It's like Tommy Lee Jones in fucking Under Siege, right? That's all you fucking see. So there's a reason why we're like, well, okay, we'll give them... They say they're being nice. We can be bad sometimes. That's where Trump got his whole we're killers too bullshit. Because his entire geopolitical view of the world is done through 80s and early 90s action films, because he's a fucking tool. So, but right now, have you been watching the Kherson region stuff and the? Because I think if there's a hard freeze in the next little bit, they're going into Crimea. They're firing into Crimea, and they're going to start dusting that place.
Absolutely, and they need to. They absolutely need to. They need to take Crimea, run, and if there's anybody in Crimea that's Ukrainian that has been loyal to the Russians, they can run their ass out too. But I will tell you this, Russia has destroyed the cities. Literally, they've bombed schools, they bombed apartment complexes. I'm at the point now where I'm like, it wouldn't bother me if I saw Ukrainians go in to level places in Moscow, because that's exactly what Vladimir Putin deserves. They have done horrific things, and I'll tell you, the Russians and this whole thing about basically making their young men and women, pushing them off the war without training and without the right equipment. Russians are losing on average about 500 troops a day. And it's really hard for people to understand. In 20 years in Afghanistan, we lost 2,400 American soldiers. 2,400. Right now, the tally for Russia is over 90,000 deaths, and it is only at the 10-month mark. This is astronomical, and Russia is dealing with this. It amazes me that the generals, that the oligarchs have not already said, look, that son of a bitch has to be drugged through the streets, or else they're going to find themselves in trouble too.
There was a news report today that Putin's lost 190 generals so far. 190. What?
Well, we thought that they were the toughest. We thought that they were number 2. And the thing about it is that now we know
they are number 2. Just different kind of way.
When I was a company commander, I had a budget of $1.1 million. And that was what I had to use to get my troops ready to go to Iraq. In Russia, it's not like that. In Russia, the general officer is giving a budget of so many millions of dollars. And it's up to him to pay for the training and to pay for the equipment. And what they found is that those Russian generals are buying old, outdated, rusty-ass, raggedy-ass equipment. and that's what they're giving to their troops, and they get to pocket the rest. And
Right.
so we know that what they're doing is garbage. They've lost over 2,900 tanks. I mean, I don't even understand how you could. That is, we have 31 brigade combat teams in the United States Army. They have lost the equivalent of about 40 armored brigade combat teams already. It's astronomical.
Yeah, and then you've got these. So, like from a military standpoint, you've got an invading, colonizing army who chose this war, like and literally used the precursor that the Azov battalion has 9 Nazis in it, so therefore, in their big secret plan to Nazify Ukraine, they elected a Jewish president and sell grain to Africa, like Nazis would do.
Yeah.
And then, so they decide on their own timeline, just, fuck it, let's do it. Today's the day. They roll in, they lose, 8 times as many people as they lost in a decade in Afghanistan themselves, which was brutal. And then 90, somewhere, it depends on what you look at, 92 to 96% of their targets are civilian infrastructure or civilian living quarters, like apartment buildings, housing blocks, and that kind of stuff, electrical plants, stuff. Just like the most brutal, like 19th and 18th century violent bullshit, murdering civilians like the Wagner Group. And then they 3-tier their fighting brigades. So they send these like shanghaied drunken conscripts to the front. They put violent like murderers and rapists and armed robbers and people like that in a second line, because those are the guys who might know how to fight. And then behind them are Wagner Group mercenaries and drunken Russian generals whose entire gig is to shoot their own soldiers when they retreat. And the cruelty towards the Russians that are being put there by their own commanders, by their own leadership is, we talk about it occasionally. And there's a certain point where you're like, all right, it's your ass. You're in somebody else's country. It's just part of it, especially because it was, there was nothing that drove it. There was no Pearl Harbor. There was no 9/11. There was no pretext you could even pretend. They've tried to jumpstart this fucking 4 times. They were trying, there's been we really got to do it now with the fucking pipeline and then their own plane crashing into Belgorod. Remember the 2 helicopters that allegedly flew into Belarus and shot that place and then flew back? That the Ukrainians were like, that wasn't us, for a few weeks. All of those things were supposed to, all right, well, now they're going to nuke the world and we're this close to nuke. We need to back off and let the Russians just have a slice of this country so everybody can go back to, eating sugary sweets, because if we don't let them steal a chunk of everybody's country, piece and salami slice their way through fucking Europe, they're going to nuke us. So better that than the threat of nuclear warfare from these fucking assholes who know the day they did it, the day they launched even a tactical nuke in any of these countries, that's the end. Not because we would nuke them, but because those very people you're talking about would snuff Putin in his fucking giant mansion that he, his $20 million or like $2 billion mansion that he owns, that he bought with his $140,000 a year salary.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I will tell you, the number 2 military army in the world, which was Russia, is getting its ass handed to it by the number 22nd military, Ukraine. When I saw the initial invasion and I started looking at the equipment that Russia was using and how the tires, the tread on the tires was literally falling off. And the reason for that's because that equipment has sat in a motor pool and has not been exercised for probably years. And, I'm starting to realize that it's these dictators. When you watch their militaries where they drive them up and down the streets for the dictator to watch, those people know how to march very, very well. Way better than any of our American military,
right.
Unless you're talking about the honor guard, the old guard and things like that. But these people are marching, and the reason that they waste their money on the pomp and you know the
circumstance,
flair.
right? Yes.
But the truth is when it comes down to friggin', trading rounds, that they ain't worth the shit. And Russia's done. Russia is done. And like I said, for the next 3 decades, every single penny that comes to Russia needs to absolutely go straight out to rebuild Ukraine.
Right.
And I think that the Russian oligarchs and the generals that are left had better be coming to a table and trying to figure out how they're going to save their necks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's time to see Putin drug through the streets.
Well, you had, first of all, Simonia and the woman who's on RT or whatever was complaining, and we talked about this with my buddy Philip Ittner, who when you're back up, you should have him on your show as well. But Philip's in Kiev right now. He was in Kharkiv, he's been in Lviv, and he's been in Odessa, and he knew Simonia and the woman who's on that show. He's met her because she was the head of RT for a while, and she basically made the case, look, we're going to The Hague anyways. It might be time to crank up some concentration camps and just carpet bomb civilians because they're going to only hang you once. Basically, they're in the street thug kill the witness mode. Might as well kill the whole family because they're going to you can only get the electric chair once. That's where they are. That's the moral standard. I mean, as bad as Tucker Carlson is, and he's horrible. That's a whole other scale. You know what I mean? At least he's just he's cutely gross compared to he's just a farce. These people are fucking serious, and they got the ear of Vladimir Putin. The issue I think with the Ukrainians attacking in Russia is the idea that it would give them a precursor to act even worse. But the fact that they're not is one of the reasons why NATO and the other countries are having such an easy time getting their populations to support this and and give money and support to Ukraine to protect themselves, because there is such a clear moral delineation. And that's not always true in all conflicts. It sure as fucking is in this one.
Oh, make no mistake about it. As much as I say I think they deserve it. Russia deserves it. Moscow deserves it. At the end of the day, we're absolutely spot on. If they was to go into Moscow and destroy anything, that would basically give Vladimir Putin the ability to up things. An atomic bomb in Ukraine. Obviously not. They're talking about no nukes, but possibly an atomic bomb. An atomic bomb in Ukraine, which is the equivalent of what they dropped in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, that's going to that will absolutely impact surrounding countries. And by the way, China is there too. And, China is sitting off on the side, but make no mistake about it. If Russia does something that impacts China, then that's a different story. That's a game changer.
Well, and arguably they have, about 2 months ago, China was kind of playing footsie and backing off this kind of stuff. But at a certain point, when the Channel One folks and the big spokesman on those shows started just going, it's time to start getting rid of Ukraine as an identity. The problem China had to make a pivot at that point to some degree. And again, they're measuring what they're doing, but they're there. Is that they sound like they're saying the same thing about Taiwan, and it reflects on their language about Taiwan. We need to take Taiwan back. We need to unify it. Taiwan's never been under the CCP ever. So the idea that they can reclaim it, even like the USSR mentality thinks they can reclaim Ukraine, is an absurdity because it was never the truth. In Ukraine, it was arguably the truth. It was a part of the Soviet Socialist republics, but it ain't anymore. Taiwan never was. And so all the conversation about, them, unifying China or the unification conversation is even short legally of where Russia thought they stood in this situation. So they're really fucked because in terms of the U.S. protecting Taiwan, we have arguably more legal international standing to do that than even Ukraine or Georgia or Chechnya. That's the weird part. This is former territory that 30 years ago was technically theirs. So China's in a real fucking bind. Not the least of which is that everybody is packing up and getting the fuck out. Apple's moving to Vietnam. The only person that's sticking with China right now as his main hub is Elon Musk, who built this fucking gigafactory there at the absolute worst time. Literally the worst, like, writing was on the wall. This was not when, like, oh man, it's booming over here. Let's just jump in, like 90s Russia or, early 2000s China. Everybody was like, fuck, you can factories here, it's cheap, everybody wants to work, they're opening up, this looks really balanced and normal. Like, literally at the time where people were like, see ya, Elon Musk is like bringing his bags in, and China's is a fucking mess. If it survives the next 3 years, it'll be a miracle.
And people don't realize, that's another big thing with China and the United States of America in terms of the grain, that we in the Midwest of our country. If you turn the grain off on China, within 4 months, they're starving to death. People are dying by the hundreds of thousands in China.
Dude, they are our single biggest pork buyer, hands down. And even still, it wouldn't be enough. They bought the problem that they have ultimately is they've destroyed all their arable land. They had to cull 700 million pigs 2 years ago when they had a big swine flu outbreak, which was like somewhere in the order of like 60% of the pork. And that is the primary meat staple in China is pork. And like, wrap your head around, like, imagine the United States of America. If 60% of our chickens and our cows and our pigs all had to be slaughtered. Like, we lost a bunch because of the avian flu outbreak that was affecting. Everybody was watching that emu that was sick, and people were hoping for it on Twitter and all that. I don't know if you saw that. This woman had this emu who caught the avian flu, and that's been going around that killed off a bunch of the turkeys, which is why turkey was more expensive this year, not because of fucking gas prices or Russian war or any of that shit. But imagine that happening to all of our... Right, exactly. Imagine that happening to all of our foodstuffs at once. And then finding out that only somewhere in the order of 27% of your farmland is now usable.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, and we're not anywhere near that, by the way. The United States, it's one of the reasons why we're going gangbusters and the Fed can't fucking figure it out. How about that jobs report while I got you on the line too?
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing too, is, and a lot of people don't understand that. That's one of the reasons why there's such a fight to try to protect, our land in this country. That's the what is it?
Environmentally, right.
The Keystone Pipeline that was pushing tar sands from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico is something that absolutely is the worst material that exists, because it eats literally through everything. And that pipeline was going to go across aquifers that produced 75% of our nation's drinking water. And it was going over farmland that farmers were like, look, if that shit leaks, and it always leaks, you will never be able to grow any crops on that land again. Right. And it amazes me how people want to scream and fight and say, well, we need jobs, but we also need to fucking eat and drink water.
Right. But we need, what do you want to kill? You want to trade farms for those petro jobs for a Canadian, by the way, product getting to the world market. It's not, we didn't get like first fucking dibs on that oil. It goes to the market like every fucking thing else. As a matter of fact, it's illegal for us to get first dibs.
The only jobs that were going to be created that was going to put Americans at work were the small crews. And I'll tell you this, what gas wells are. So in West Virginia, there's gas wells everywhere. And I ran into a guy when I was actually a state senator in West Virginia that was a guy who worked for the gas well company. And his responsibility was he was the one guy in 3 counties, and he set his schedule to where on Monday he was in this part of this county, on Tuesday this part of this county, on Wednesday he was over here on this county, and his job was to go check every gas well to make sure that the readings were done right.
Right.
And that was the job. They put in literally thousands of gas wells that made the company millions upon millions of dollars, and they hired one guy. The
One safety
Keystone
tech.
pipeline from Canada to New Mexico was only going to hire small crews that basically would say, we've got a leak. All right, get the 10 guys over here to fix this leak. And that was it. That's not helping America. That's
Right.
poisoning America while you're giving a small percentage of people a couple jobs that pay, put a little bit of food on the table.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is those guys, there was this story that the biggest solar panel facility in the Western Hemisphere is being funded through the Inflation Reduction Act, the climate stuff in the Inflation Reduction Act, in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district in fucking Georgia. The biggest solar panel farm or manufacturing facility in the Western Hemisphere is in Dalton, Georgia, in Marjorie Taylor Greene's area. And the problem she's going to have going forward with this shitting on solar panels is that a good percent of her constituents have to weigh out in the next couple of years, specifically around 2024, interestingly enough, whether they want to kill those thousands of jobs and the thousands of jobs that hang on those jobs in that district just to have, because she wants to kill it. She thinks these subsidies have to end, and there's no way you get these things off the ground without those subsidies. Oil and gas had subsidies in the early days. The U.S. government paid for almost every fucking gas station in this goddamn country to get dug out when it all started. I've told this before, but there's a reason why in the 50s, the major plot point of most horror films, werewolf movies or whatever, was running out of gas. Because there was no fucking... It was all range anxiety. That's what they were. All those horror movies were about range anxiety on gas fucking engines. And the U.S. government stepped in and said, all right, how many do we need all along the highway system? Because the other thing about the highway system, it was, in a lot of places, it was just a pretext to put in gas stations. There were roads there, but the highway system was really an artery for bringing fuel through. More than almost anything. That's why you needed big, thick roads that were, dug really deep and multi-layered so they could carry the fucking fuel trucks, which were really yes.
Yes. It's the same thing with Goodyear tires. You're
yes.
spot on. Spot on.
So the same thing will be true of electric cars or hydrogen or a split between the two. Because what's ultimately going to happen is that commuter cars inside cities will be run off electrical systems that you could charge off of solar panels and other stuff, and you'll take about this much from the grid where you used to take this much. And that's the whole purpose. You get solar panels on your house. Instead of your house taking this much from the grid, it takes this much, which means less natural gas has to be burned, less coal has to be burned, whatever that is. And then the fuel that you have to use currently for airplanes and for trucks will be petroleum for the time being, diesel, and then, high octane fuel, gasoline, until hydrogen comes along. And then those are the two sources you'll have. You'll have electric for commuter cars and large vehicles that have to go long distances using something like hydrogen. And at some point, one of those will top the other out, either electric efficiency or hydrogen use. Well, we decided that everybody just wants a little thing that drips water out of the back of their car because that's what the process makes. And it'll work itself out in the same way that leaded gasoline eventually went away. And instead of, we unleaded the gasoline and put a catalytic converter on. That kind of shit's going to happen over the next decade and a half. It just is.
Yeah, but you're spot on with everything you're saying. But also people need to be willing to call these people out, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. When we realized that almost every matter of fact, every Republican voted against the infrastructure package, all of them voted against the infrastructure package. But make no mistake about it, you got to remember that, because right now, those same Republicans that voted against the infrastructure package are out there taking photographs and are out there using the shovels to do the first dig in the ground, to build the bridges, to put in the new roads, and all this other shit, and you got to call these people out because they are absolutely as fake as it gets.
Yeah, we do need, I will say, and it just kind of occurred to me, we need kind of a phrase for this because hypocrite doesn't quite carry it. It's got to be there's got to be like an infrastructure tick kind of thing where they're just barnacling on the federal government's stuff and while decrying it at the same time, cursing the Biden administration is a big commie thing while cutting ribbons on fucking highway projects and patting themselves on the back for a bill they voted against. Like it, there has.
We have in this country is that nobody is paying attention to the votes. And the thing is, I mean, it's just, like right now we're sitting here, and of course, yes, we're lucky. No matter what, even if Walker wins, heaven forbid, it's still we still control the Senate. Right. But at the end of the day, understand that the Republican Party are fighting to take control. And if you look at their votes, is that what you really want? Because the Republicans voted against lowering the cost of insulin. The Republicans voted against allowing Medicare and Medicaid to be able to speak with drug companies to lower the price of drugs. I mean, it amazes me if you look at the Republicans voted against expanding benefits to those like myself who have been exposed to toxins in combat zones. I mean, the Republican voting record is atrocious. And if people don't pay attention, if all you do is watch friggin' Donald Trump and Marjorie Trainwreck Green spew their bullshit because you're scared of friggin' people of color, then you don't get it. And that's why it's important that we educate these people. And that's why, like your show, these shows are so important. You got over 1,000 people right now that watch you every single day. Right. And every one of them walk away from it knowing a little something more today than they didn't know yesterday.
And they've got a big smile on their face because I refuse to turn people into like misery minds everywhere. And again, because there's a lot to be excited about. I showed earlier with Trump and his stupid fucking, they're weaponizing the government against it, like that video he put out. And then contrasting that with what Obama said, when he's talking about Walker and, the werewolves and and vampires clip that his joke he told about him, which is just gorgeous. And you go, look, it's not even fucking close, people. Stop it. One of the cases that I'm curious about your take on this real quick, because I said the other day, like the Republicans, because of, how every state gets 2 senators, whereas we, there's an automatic imbalance, a 50-50 imbalance in the Senate due to the fact that states like Oklahoma, which have 4 million people in it, which is half the population of LA County, have 2 senators.
Montana.
Right. Totally. Right. And so to have genuine balance in the Senate, you really need 56 Democrats or 58 Democrats. You know what I mean? You need that where if there's a conversation about where something might be filibustered, it's a reasonable conversation with a couple of senators from the other side not having to pull over 10 of them. You know what I mean? To beat that kind of thing. And to me, like that's a project like Project 56 or Project 58 where we can make that case. And if everybody's going, you just want to take over the thing, like no. I don't need all 60. But we get 56. LA and doesn't get 4 senators for their population. I know the House works that way, but even the Senate, the mismatch in the Senate, the electoral colleging of the process of making a bill, which started off great when we were little tiny colonies, I suppose, has gotten a little absurd. We don't need 2 Dakotas. We don't need 2 Carolinas. And we don't,
and that's the reason why they broke those up, Right. But also understand, that that's a big reason why they fight the whole thing about making Puerto Rico the 51st state, making Washington D.C. an area. Washington D.C. has more people than hell, all of West Virginia, but Washington D.C. has 0 representation. Right. I mean, there's a lot of things that really need to be done in this country, and you wonder why so many people are fighting against that. And the reason for this is I think that the Republican Party are realizing that they can't win. They can't win unless they cheat. And when you think about it,
not at all.
The youth of this country, it is the youth of this country that I believe is saving this country. I believe that the 18 to 25-year-old vote is absolutely leaning more towards the Democrats. The 55 and older, the friggin' people that are moving to Florida, which is making Florida the most Republican or the most racist state in the friggin' country.
Right.
Understand that, there was a time when those people believed that a person of color marrying a person that was not a white person married a black, that was practically the worst sin that you could do. Today, the youth of our country, the youth of America, doesn't have a problem with people that marry outside their race. They don't have a problem with people in the LGBTQ community. They actually make friends with those people because they're intrigued. They want to know, how are you? Who are you?
Right.
That's saving this country.
Well, I think, part of the reason is that you've got a lot of people who don't know on the right anymore, don't know what they believe. At some point, they're wearing an R on their jacket because they've always been Republicans or their parents were, or it's just kind of like team sports to them. And then on a religious level, they've lost all the genuine faith in their religion, and they just use it as a weaponized group activity. They don't really believe in anything. And the secondary cost of that, in my belief, is that when you don't have real beliefs and real ethics of your own that you can stick to and as standard for yourself that you live with, what you think is that nobody else does, and that the ones that scare you are contagious. So you think these are the people who think you can catch gay, or that the other ideology, if you even talk about it, is going to rub off on you. And so that's why they burn books, because they're afraid you can't read it without it being absorbed, because their fucking brains are porous. They're,
and mind you, the people that are burning those books have never read a book from cover to cover in their entire friggin' life. Guaranteed.
Yeah. Especially not their favorite books. That's the funny part, like the Bible or whatever. Like, these assholes never got through the whole Constitution. Why do you think Kevin McCarthy wants to read the whole fucking Constitution from top to bottom at the beginning? Because it's an audio book for his fucking caucus. Yeah, they're not going to read it.
Never read it. Yeah, and it's like, look, I tried to read the Bible, and by the time I got to page like 8, when so-and-so begat so-and-so and so-and-so begat so-and-so, I said,
it's a lot.
I'll just go watch 10 Commandments.
Right. Some people know this, but I was baptized when I was 11. In our church, you didn't have to till you were 13. But I'd already read the Bible twice by the time I was 13 years old, all the way through. Like, went to church camp, was in Sunday school all the time. I have no problem with the allegorical aspects of it, the vaguely tribal historic aspects of it, the moral teachings of it, and the contradictions. I don't have any fucking problem with that, because I know humans are gooey, and anytime you put a human in between a good idea and a person needing to hear it, part of them is going to get all smeared all over it. It's why I like Star Wars versus Star Trek. It's why I like My House versus Pottery Barn. No, I believe things are lived in. I like shit that's lived in. And Star Wars was always dirty. Like the Enterprise would just have, they just, like, there are little robot sweepers everywhere because everything has to be pristine. Whereas, like, X-Wing fighters were covered in yuck because people are touching it. You're letting a Wookiee touch it. He's covered in fur. Obviously, I wanted to see Han Solo with a fucking lint roller after he hugged Chewbacca every time, But the point is that I don't have a problem with the hitches in it that I go, that doesn't work, or that's different, or whatever. Because I can see that along the way, people tribally tried to have their say or push it in a direction and that kind of stuff. And part of the struggle ethically and morally in your life is going, okay, what standard is absolute for me, and which standard is circumstantial based on the human beings that I'm interacting with and what they're okay with, and what, that I'm, again, the idea that you can stone someone to death and they deserve to burn in hell for both being gay and eating shrimp. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, after Fox News' flip out about Biden serving lobster, while, apparently not supporting lobster fishermen by not letting them fish the sea dry or allow the Chinese to roll in and do it, which is really what that was about. They're defending shellfish so vociferously that I'm like, you're skating awfully. You might as well just be gay at this point, Fox, because in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in an area where it was like that, where it was all about, we love everybody except the gays.
Right, exactly.
Marriages. I mean, I come from Southern West Virginia. I grew up in the Catholic Church, and when I turned 18, I looked at my parents and said, I will never go back again. And that was it.
Right. Yeah, it's funny what people fixate on as being the sort of be-all, end-all of the purpose of their ethical stance. And this is true not just of the religious stance of the Republicans, but their fiscal responsibility idea. You got Donald Trump running in, jacking up the fucking federal debt like crazy. Biden comes in, cuts the deficit in half in a year, and no credit for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it. The fact that, President Biden, was the ones who brought us out of Afghanistan. But yet, you don't hear these people talk. They praise Donald Trump for the ones that put the wheels in motion. And, that was absolute horrific what Donald Trump did, what Donald Trump created.
Yeah.
Specifically to hand to Biden because he knew that it would probably fail. And what bothered me is how so many people went crazy. And look, I've got the names of 13 people on my back that didn't come home from combat. And I'm pretty sure the number was 13 people died in our last couple days in Afghanistan. And it amazed me how many people got so angered. And once again, it's okay to be angered at the loss of any life, but yet you didn't say jack shit about the loss of other lives. You never said nothing about how Donald Trump it took him 2 years before he built up the courage to go visit troops in a combat zone. He only went 4 times to receive bodies coming home that landed
out of 96 out of 96 dignified transfers during the Trump administration. He went to 4, and it was right when he started. And the 4th one of the parents was pissed and held him responsible. And he was like, I'm not going back. Pence went to the rest of them.
Yeah. I mean, to me, for him, nobody wants to talk about the fact that he freed 5,000 friggin' terrorists. He freed 5,000 of our enemy, one who is now the friggin' president of Afghanistan, the leader of the Taliban. But nobody wants to talk about that. But make no mistake about it, there's those of us like myself that remember that shit.
Well, his big thing is, and he so wants this to stick around. Like, they have been pushing this, like, he got so mad, like, within 2 months we were out of Afghanistan, and he's like, people have just forgotten. It's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened in American history. And for a while there, I was like, because there were deaths and because a suicide bomber got through and all that kind of stuff, even though the Taliban let them through to stop the brain drain, they were trying to scare their own people into not going to the airport.
Yeah. So
they allowed a suicide bomber to get through on purpose. That's my personal belief, because that's exactly what happened. The people who were fleeing stopped going to the airport and they started trying to drive to Pakistan and flee to Iran. This kind of hanging point about it being embarrassing, because it's the only emotion he can feel is shame, is embarrassment. He's got no shame, but he can be embarrassed, which is, the idiot's version of shame. And I was like, why is he sticking on this? Why does he constantly, he still brings it up, the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened. I think it's because God knows there were, again, they believe, his people believe that China attacked us with a bioweapon, which, if that is the case, then Donald Trump was president during the worst bioweapon attack in the United States history, and he lost 1 million people, and he rewarded the people that attacked us by selling them the largest order of beef, corn, soybeans, and pork in American history. Fuck, the family of Chamberlain should ask for an apology at this point, I suppose. But the embarrassing thing, I was like, why does he focus on that? And part of me, I've sort of started coming to the conclusion that was the goal a little bit. That this'll show him. They'll try to get out. I'll set him up for a fail, and this will be embarrassing for them. They're going to have to heal the poll numbers about
Yeah.
Afghanistan will wreck them, and then I'll come back in. And that was what he was hoping for, and then it didn't work out. And now he's embarrassed that he was unable to get out, and so he's trying to transfer that embarrassment on, because he ran on it. He ran on 2015, 2016, getting out of Afghanistan. I'm the guy who can do it. I alone can fix it. I'm getting the fuck out. And then 4 years later, nothing. So let me get your take on, because we got about 10 minutes left. Let me get your take on the dinner, the Kanye dinner, Nick Fuentes, Milo Yiannopoulos gathering at Mar-a-Lago, and what that does to to Trump's presidential aspirations. For real.
Well, I think that what Donald Trump is doing, Donald Trump is shooting himself in the foot every day. And what that's doing, it's giving more people the ability to cut ties. Now you've got Mitch McConnell coming out basically saying, and even now Kevin McCarthy is finally showing a little bit of a backbone, and I didn't think that son of a bitch had one. But, basically saying that anybody who would sit down with people that were, Nazi sympathizers and anti-Semites, those are people that absolutely will never
have no history. Have no future, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking that that's pretty much Donald Trump is giving these people the out that they want. Let me tell you, the Republican Party wants to jump behind DeSantis today. And every day that Donald Trump is still relevant, they can't do that, because they know that if they go at it, they know that no matter what, 25% of Donald Trump's base, the poorly educated, will not support any Republican that takes away their orange baby Jesus. And that's a fact. And they know that what the perfect scenario is that Donald Trump is going to go down, and Donald Trump is going to be sentenced. And then DeSantis can say, don't worry, Don, give me all your support and I'll pardon you when I win president next. That's the only hope for Donald Trump. That's right. But I'm hoping that they friggin' rip each other apart, because I think that that's the way it's going to be.
Here's the problem. I don't think, for Trump anyways, I think the problem is Trump does not have the emotional intelligence nor the forethought to think that part through before he goes after DeSantis. And so it's just going to be scorched earth until he goes there with a begging bowl.
He's trying now. I mean, every time he says something, he's throwing something out there, basically busting on Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is just sitting back, acting like the better guy. And Ron DeSantis he's hoping the same thing. He knows. He's hoping that they lock Donald Trump up. I actually sent a message to a member of Congress the other day and said, if you guys know anything, I hope you let these two guys basically rip each other apart. I really do.
Yeah, well, that is going to be the case. I don't even know that you have to let him or whatever. That's how it's going to be, because the minute Trump starts to, there's blood in the water around Trump, metaphorically, the DeSantis people will go, this is our time to make our move. And they'll do it cautiously so that they're not pissing off that group of people that they know they're going to have to court later. But it won't work, because you're not talking about stable Republicans who are shifting support from one candidate to another. You're talking about cult members. You're talking about Pat Robertson trying to win over Jim Jones supporters for another feudal run for the presidency.
And Donald Trump is going to allow anybody to sit next to him that strokes his ego.
Yes.
Fuentes basically was telling him, we love you, but you really need to go back to the 2016 Donald Trump that was just lighting people's ass up. Donald Trump enjoyed sitting there next to Nick Fuentes.
Totally.
Stroked his ego. And that's exactly, when Kanye said, I want you to be my running mate, Donald Trump immediately thought to himself, I'm not nobody's VP. I'm the top guy. I'm the alpha male here. And that's the thing. That's why he was angered at Kanye, but he let Nick Fuentes stroke his ego. And Donald Trump will allow anybody, the lowest of the low, to stroke his ego.
Right.
That's how come Putin was so easy to get Donald Trump. That's how come Kim Jong-un was so easy to get him.
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, that's it, man. They stroke his ego and he falls for that bullshit.
Trump literally, I don't understand them. Like, the maggots have yet to explain to me how they are completely comfortable with the fact that Trump didn't just bow to the Saudi king, he curtsied. That was the weirdest. It was like he was Belle in Beauty and the Beast. He did this and he did it twice because he didn't do it deep enough the first time, and that was such a big deal when everybody else would come, because most people would come, and like you remember, like you in the 50s, it was very standard for the American vice president or president to go to a developing country, and they would hang a lei around your neck and that kind of stuff. And so there was this kind of normalization of like, oh, well, thank you, Your Honor, that's really lovely and stuff, but we're the United States, so calm down. I'm not bowing to you. This is just me being nice, right? And that was how it was for a long time. And then Trump started shitting on Obama for that very thing with the Saudis. Like, look, they bow to him. The Saudis control us or whatever. And then Trump gets in and lifts his skirt and drifts to the right. Holy shit. Yeah, Trump saluted a North Korean general.
Donald Trump, he respects those that he thinks, he can get something from. If you're a dictator, he respected you. He absolutely broke, our allies, he disrespected our allies every single day.
Yes.
While doing everything in his power to make the Saudi prince, Kim Jong-un, and Vladimir Putin happy. And, it amazes me that isn't why everybody has already turned Donald Trump off. The mere fact that there's still a 25% of the poorly educated Republicans in this country that still think Donald Trump is the second coming of Christ. It amazes me that that's where we are, and I'm hoping that over the next year or so, we're going to change people's minds.
Well,
Brother,
it's already happening. So we got, I will say this, like, you've seen me do all these fucking Trump rallies since the beginning of lockdown, like all the way through, just watching the whole fucking thing with my audience, going through this thing. And I remember when there were crowds on a couple instances in 2020 in particular, where there was, between locals and people traveling to see him, he was getting 50K. I wouldn't say, like, the whole idea that they were 65 or 80, I call bullshit, but he was getting a sizable crowd. Yeah. It's dwindled to fucking nothing. We're talking...
The security has to try to keep people in from leaving. I mean, that's
right.
Where
That brings to the announcement. So the announcement he makes, people were like, all right, I've heard enough. He said, and then the security's literally blocking them from leaving the room at Mar-a-Lago. Like that, if anything, if that and the dinner with Kanye and all, those moments, that is indicative of his sort of decision making and his ethical base. And his lack of his dying lack, his charisma was always based on a mythology. And once the mythology gets eaten, the charisma isn't there to back it up. He's not a televangelist. He's not somebody who can move people. That's why they're playing that fucking cue music behind him talking, because everybody was nodding off. So anyway, so you're gonna get your live stream up regularly. What's the schedule gonna be?
Well, I'm hoping by mid-January, beginning of February, I'll be back up and running. So I'll be back. I go live tonight, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 o'clock on Facebook on Ojeda Live.
Okay.
On Facebook, you can see my nightly 1 hour shows.
Great.
But you keep doing what you're doing, Hal, man. You educate a lot of people, man. You are the smartest guy I've ever known, man. I give you that, brother. I give you that, man. You do the research, you do the work. Everybody that listens to what you say has to walk away knowing more. I've learned things today that I didn't know because I tuned in. Brother, I appreciate being on your show, man. This is an honor for me. I think
thanks, man.
You're amazing, brother. And anytime you need me, you just let me know.
I love that. We will definitely have you back on, until you're up in your January schedule, or you'll just be too exhausted. Like, at this point, I'm doing 9 shows a week. So, at a certain point, people are like, "You want to come on our podcast?" And I'm like, "Oh dear God, how smart does one man have to be that many times in a day?" But yeah. So I would love to do that. We'll make a regular thing of it and have you come on, and that would be beautiful. So
just let me know,
fantastic.
brother. Give me the word out there.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. And by the way, everybody, don't forget to follow him. It's Ojeda for America. You can see it. You got white on your shirt, so it's not quite as clear as I would want it to be. I'll change. There you go. That's good. And there you go. And then follow him on Twitter there as long as Twitter exists. And then we'll figure out where we're moving next. But at the very least, you can check out his. What's the Facebook page? Is it because it's your pro Facebook page, right? Ojeda Live.
Ojeda Live.
Okay, so and Facebook uses an @ just like Twitter does. If you go to Facebook and you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can search for Ojeda Live, and that should bring you to the show. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 8 o'clock. What
8 o'clock.
time of the
Eastern Standard?
Yeah, Eastern Standard Time, because he's over in the WV, the WVA.
North Carolina now, brother.
Oh, you're in the NC. Oh, you're in NC now. Okay, well then I'll have to hook you up with my friend Frank, who lives down there. He's great. He's a good workout buddy, and he's a good solid dude. But I will also say that North Carolina, interestingly enough, crucial to the manufacturing of silicon computer chips worldwide, because this particular form of silicon that they look for, we always talk about like rare earth minerals, and everybody has a hard time finding these rare earths. You want to talk about a real rare earth mineral. The Carolinas, and this is why they have outsized control in the government, in the same way that like Kentucky's a pivot point between 6 states, so you need them to drive through. The Carolinas have this particular form of silicon that we need for the high quality computer chips. And instead of putting it on a boat and sending it to Taiwan or China or even South Korea to make this stuff, it's just going to go over to Arizona. It already is. So you're at the hub of it, my friend. And the next time I'm down in the Carolinas, I will come by and help you dig fence posts or something.
You got a place to stay, brother.
Oh, I appreciate it. All right. Love you, Richard. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And everybody, I will sign off with everybody else on the show. So thanks, brother.
Love
Cheers.
you guys.
Thank you. So awesome. There we go. Hold on. There we go. That was really cool. That was great. It was so nice to have him on there. And we'll make a regular thing out of it. That's pretty spectacular. And let me shut this page because it eats up all my computing power. Yes. The major's great. And his big focus is getting rural Democrats elected. And I was seriously blushing during his praise, I will say. But the whole, that's I think the next big phase is bringing back into the fold like blue collar Democrats, who may or may not be union workers but lean that way, may or may not need government health care or any kind of the support from the government, but at the same time know that people who are serious about governing and can do things like handle a pandemic like fucking adults, or work on infrastructure, or that thinking removing the lead pipes from school systems is a good idea. Oh, thanks, Jillian. Yes, this is my Nuck and Futz shirt that I finally broke down and bought at the restaurant that I drive past when I'm visiting my dad all the time. So if Major Philip be on the same broadcast, would it be Major Phil? Yes. So anyways, love you guys. I'm going to sign off right now. I will see you this afternoon for Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide, 3 p.m. Pacific time. And it's going to be a great show because God knows, hopefully, there'll definitely be some Kanye fallout from other folks, but, hopefully we can, actually deal with some real legislation talk. Can I get a little wonky now and again? Is it too much to ask? Is it wrong? All I want is just to be able to just flex my muscle on, economics or legislation occasionally, instead of this kind of crayon and hammers bullshit that passes for right-wing ethics. Oh yeah, paid sick leave. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that vote later on today, because there's some response videos to that I want to talk about. So that's perfect. Yes, excellent. Thanks for bringing that up. But anyways, until this afternoon, take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Support the show in any way that you can. Patreon.com, of course. Look, we just made it over 1,000 in subs on Twitch again. So we were up to 1,100 at one point. We're never going to meet my goal of 2,500 at this rate, but I hope springs eternal. I'm just going to keep trying. I don't care. Just going to do it. A boy can dream, can't he? So help out any way you can. And again, if you can't help out and the whole idea stresses you out, you're like, I don't have any money. I can put a credit card into a computer. It'll steal my stuff. Don't worry about it then, because my show is here to help. If it adds to any of your stress, it's not helping. So don't. It's all right. And, I don't need any help staying positive. Thanks, Stargal. I think there is another, like, Trump interview, even though the problem with clips about Trump is that nobody wants to interview him right now. Everybody's tired of him being on the fucking phone. He can't phone it in anymore. And so they all want exclusive sit downs, but he doesn't want to do it unless he has a say in the edit, and they can't, and he's so like blatant about it that all the networks can't, they're going to know. They're going to go, oh yeah, okay. He sat down with Newsmax because they agreed to let him, sign off on the edit of his interview. And they can't, if I can admit it, so they just pass. Oh, it's so good. Anyways, much love to you guys. I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Okay, hug a troll on your way out. There you go. Flex your wonky muscle. You know it. Hello.